Hey guys, welcome to Uncle Klaus Kung Fu Kitchen. I'm Uncle Klaus and today I have a brand new episode for you. First of all, I want to thank you for your comments, for your likes, subscribes, shares, for your engagement with my last videos, and I hope you have fun with today's videos. As you know, my last two episodes were about desserts, cakes that you don't have to bake in the oven. And I have a third one for you because I'm just overflowing with creativity at the moment. And I'd like to share that with you so you can make it at home with very little ingredients, very little tools. Quick and easy, 1 hour around it will take you to make a cake at your house without an oven to impress your family. Today we're going to make an apple cake in a pan. Cake in a pan, but not a pancake. Blows my mind. Basically, we're gonna roast some apples in a pan, cover them with dough, and then bake it on the stove. No need for an oven. 25 minutes, very delicious. Also, if you by yourself, it's a great breakfast to have. So I want to show you the ingredients, and if you look at the ingredients compared to my last two episodes, these ingredients actually look more like a traditional cake. And the flavor is gonna be more like a traditional cake as well. I'm gonna walk you through real quick. We have apples, which for an apple cake, of course, are essential. So this is your main flavor ingredient. We have some lime juice. We have regular all-purpose white flour. We have eggs. We have brown sugar. I prefer brown sugar to white sugar because brown sugar has more of a rich molasses caramel type flavor that goes really great with apples. And on that note, our next ingredient is cinnamon, which mixes really well with the brown sugar. And of course, cinnamon is always a great match with the apples. No matter the combination, cinnamon and apples, an absolute dream team. We have regular butter. And we have some lime zest. If you want to know how to grate the lime zest correctly, check out my last episode about the Philadelphia cake. There you can see how you grate the lime zest in a good manner. And we also have some baking soda, which is essential because this cake is fast, it's quick. We don't have the time to make a yeast dough to let it rise. It will take like the whole day. And baking soda will help you to make the dough rise in a very quick time. Okay, so step number one, apples. We have two apples here and we're gonna slice them into discs. I will show you how. First you take the apple, cut it in half, and then cut it into quarters. The reason why we do that is because we want to take out the core of the apple and be quite generous with that because it really doesn't have a good flavor, and the core, when you cook it, it doesn't really break down, so you have some chewy bits in your cake that you really don't want. And we do that like this. We put one slice of apple into our hand, go in with the knife, and then we don't slice all the way through because then it's easy to cut the whole apple, but we kind of just break out the core so we waste as little apple as possible. Show you one more time. Just go in and then whoop, almost like it wants to come out, right? And also the flour, if you cook it, it can burn very easily and it's gonna make your cake bitter. Then we take our apple quarters and we slice them into slices just like this. Now, some people will recommend to take the skin off the apple. I personally don't like that so much. I mean, I understand that the skin is a little bit sour and it looks a little bit nicer if the apple is completely peeled. I personally like the flavor of the skin because it contains a lot of the flavor components, a lot of the nutrients. I also personally like the aesthetic of the skin on the apple, so I prefer to keep it with the skin on. If you want, you can take the skin off, really up to you. It doesn't really make a difference for making the cake. Now, we're gonna take our apples, put them in a bowl. And now we add our lime juice. Again, I prefer to use lime instead of lemon because lime is much more common here in Vietnam. It's available to a lot of people, it's cheap, and I also like the flavor of lime a little bit more. So we're just gonna douse that on top. Now this has two functions. One function is to give the apple a little bit more flavor, and the other function is to keep the apple from browning while it's standing out at the air, because if you slice the apple it will become brown very fast, very easily, but if you add the lime juice, that will not happen. We then also take the brown sugar that we mentioned before, and we add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Then we mix the whole thing together to coat everything evenly. The reason why we do that, we want to fry the apples in the pan in a minute for a little bit. And I want the sugars to caramelize on the apples to give it a little bit of a crust and of like a little bit of that rich, dark, deep caramel flavor. We're gonna add a little bit of oil to our pan. First we heat it up, start the flame, and we want like medium-low heat. Not medium, not low, somewhere in between. Medium-low heat, because in a minute we're gonna stir the apples, fry them a bit, and we want some of the moisture to evaporate so they don't soup up the dough that we're gonna add later. Right? We're gonna add just a little bit of oil. And we're gonna coat the bottom of the pan. Now, be very careful with the oil. You don't need a lot. You don't want like the oil to stand in the pan, because it's gonna make the cake very oily, and that's what we don't want. We want just as much oil that the apples will fry nicely, evenly, and also absorb the oil so it doesn't interfere with our cake flavor. Now we wait a bit for the oil to heat up before we put in the apples. Okay, so now the oil is warm. Just to show you, we can add a little bit of water. You can hear the water, so that means the oil is hot enough. And now we're just gonna add our apples. Spread them out evenly. And don't forget to pour in all that delicious caramel, sugar, lime juice that we still have in the bowl. And now we're just gonna let it steam, let the water evaporate for a little bit. And in the meantime, we will prepare the dough for our cake in the pan, which is not a pancake. You remember all of our ingredients: flour, eggs, sugar, lime zest, butter, cinnamon, baking soda. Basically, we're just gonna mix them all together. There is no real secret, there is no real special trick to this. I prefer to start with the flour usually, because it's the most loose component, and I want it to be like on the bottom to avoid that it's flying around. I'm gonna add the sugar Mix it through a little bit. Add the lime zest. Gives it a little bit of a tangy, fresh flavor. Add the baking soda. I'm gonna add a generous sprinkle of cinnamon. I love cinnamon flavor. This is why I usually use quite a lot. You can use less if you want the flavor to be less intense. And also if you add too much cinnamon, it becomes a little bit bitter. So be a little bit careful with that, but I personally love the flavor, so I'm usually quite generous with my cinnamon. Right? Mix it through. We add the eggs. And we add our butter that we left out of the fridge. It's important that the butter is quite soft, as you can see here, because that makes it easier to incorporate. So that don't take the butter straight out of the fridge. Let it sit outside for like 30 minutes at least. And now you just stir it all together. Be patient, no need to do this very fast. Give it time to incorporate. And now we have our dough, we have our apples, and we're just gonna take the dough and put it on top. Spread it out on top. So we have the heat at a very low medium. And we're going to put a lid on and bake it like this for around 10 minutes. Then we reduce the heat and we're gonna bake it for 10 more minutes. Okay, here we are back with our apple cake. As you might see, something has changed in the kitchen. It's because it's not exactly the same episode. Part of cooking is that sometimes things go wrong, and it did with this apple pie, so I had to make it again because it burned a little bit on the bottom, but again, this is part of cooking, this is part of life. Things don't go always the way you planned. What you do, you try again, and here we are. I made another version for you. Do yourself a favor, don't make the same mistake that I did. If you take a pan, choose a pan that has a flat bottom, not a curved one, because the center is easy to burn if the pan is curved. Now, let's see what we got this time. So this cake has been cooking for around 20 minutes. Looks a little bit funky on top. I'm gonna turn it over here. Place a board on top and turn the whole thing around. Let's see, there we go. Now, this is probably not the cake that will win you beauty contests, but it's quick, it's easy, it's delicious. If you have surprise guests, if you want to surprise your girlfriend, or you have kids and you need the quick cake, this is a great way to do it. Takes you half an hour, got the cake ready to eat. Now, you let it cool a bit before you eat it, maybe 30 minutes, I would say at least. And then we're gonna skip a few steps in that regard. This cake is still warm, but I'm just gonna show you how to finish it. You take your sieve, add some rock sugar, add some powdered sugar, and then just dust it on top. Squeeze in a bit with your spoon. Liberal layer of powdered sugar on top. And it's already starting to look prettier than before, huh? What do you guys think? And there you have it. Abstract puzzle cake straight from the pan. And that's it. There you have your cake. If you are interested in other cakes that don't take you a long time to make, that you don't have to bake, that you don't have to put in the oven, easy to prepare, check out my other episodes about cakes. And looking forward to see you guys in the next episode. Let me know what you think. Comment section is always open, and never forget, Uncle Klaus loves you.